السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So this is week 3. We have been studying the supreme sign, the observations of a traveler questioning the universe concerning its maker. And the text we're studying is going to be an interpretation for the verse. The seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them extol and glorify him. There's nothing that glorifies him with praise, but you understand what they're glorifying, in that he is most forbearing, most forgiving. So this verse is تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده ولكن لا تفقهون تسبيحهم إنه كان حليما غفورا. And this is verse from chapter 17, number 44. And as we mentioned last time, this text is, in a sense, Imam Nursi's one example. Actually, he has other texts which has a similar pattern, but this is of ascension, how I take what Mi'raj sounds like. So Mi'raj is a person going through creation, getting to know the Creator step by step. And since this verse started with Samawatu Sab'u wal Ard, so he started with Samawat, and this week we studied the paragraph which says, indeed every voyager, let me see. Okay, so he was saying that since this Sabah verse, like many other Quranic verses, mentions first the heavens, that brilliant page proclaiming God's unity, used on at all times by all men wonder and joy, its pronouncement of the creator of cosmos. Let us to begin with a mention of the heavens. So he started the journey by looking at the heavens, the skies. So this we studied last week, and inshallah this week we will continue with the second step, which is going to be now the atmosphere, the events that are happening in the atmosphere. Rather be as a comment.
Well, not a comment, but a request. So you mentioned this Miraj, you mentioned it this week as well. But at least to me, it is not that clear. You tie Miraj to the text, and especially because we have some newcomers. Do you mind to open it up a little? What do you mean Miraj? Like, are you referring to a specific? Did they happen, like the events that happen?
Yeah.
Or what do you mean with that? Yeah, and how it is the difference?
So Prophet Asad had this journey, and during the 10th year, I believe 10th or 11th year of his prophethood, when he was in Mecca. So one night he was woken up by the angel, and he took a journey from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa, and from Masjid al-Aqsa to the heavens. He had a journey, and in Quran it mentions journey, but briefly. In Hadith narrations, that's detailed description of this journey. So, and Prophet, in his return from that journey, he brought salat, like prayer, daily prayer, to become part of the religion after this journey. And then he said, prayer is the Mi'raj of the believer, which means that journey of Mi'raj is open to everybody. This is why the personal journey of the Prophet was narrated to us. Although it was a personal journey, like nobody see him taking this journey, but it was narrated to us. Although the way it is being explained, it's hard to relate to if you take it literally. And could have been to the best of interest of the messenger to fit himself, because all the people were denying him, and he is just coming in something more unfathomable others to understand. But the Creator in the Revelation mentions this event. Prophet ﷺ also mentions this event to the people. Even the Meccans mocked him for that. So there must be wisdom. And actually, by praying Mi'raj, and prayer is the Mi'raj of the believers, and the saints of this Ummah has been following this path, the footprints of Prophet ﷺ Mi'raj. That ascension is important. In that ascension, what was happening? There was first if you like, horizontal move from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. So there's an initial journey that's happening. And then there's another journey, which is being explained as from Masjid al-Aqsa to the heavens, like vertical journey. What does this mean? What should I take out of that? Because whenever we listen to this journey, we should be looking for how can, like, if this is taught, I should be able to make sense of it. I should make use of it. It should be simply like, listen to this, like it's just another way of supernatural event. Although it doesn't make sense to me, I will not deny it. I will take it as this my way. But I don't benefit from it in this case. For the way, as far as I understand, Imam Bukhari taking here is that Prophet's journey through, like from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa, in my case, as it relates to me, is going to be walk through this existence and see how, let's say, the heavenly bodies, how rain and the thunders, as we will study today, or how the trees and animals and trees and rivers, whatever you observe around you, every single one of them, as the initial verse was highlighting, the seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them extol and glorify him. And there is nothing but glorifies him with praise. But you understand, not they are glorifying. He is most forbearing, most forgiving. But this verse is really then inviting us to listen to and look at those things in the heavens and the earth and understand their language, how they are glorifying the Creator, because all of them are testifying the Creator. And before entering into this text, we made an introduction. And in the introduction, author was addressing our insecurities in this age. We were looking at, look at the whole Western world, the technology and everything, and they didn't God. And because of this, our faith is being shaken. It looks like the author is saying that, look at the whole existence. Every single one of them is shouting out, saying that there is nothing but the Creator. La ilaha illallah is being shouted by the stars, by the cloud, by everything around you. There are a bunch of human beings in there who are misguided, and what we say doesn't end up either, as we mentioned in the first 2 weeks ago, and you're being shaken by their weak noise. Rather, you should be listening to the thunderous voice of the existence. So this journey, Prophet had a journey in his life, actually multiple journeys throughout his life, and now we are being invited to take this journey, and we will be walking through the creation and listen to their glorification. This is what the is inviting us to. When it says, وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ, and you do not understand their glorifying, this shouldn't mean that you can never understand their glorifying. It should rather be they glorify, but you don't understand. We should take it as an invitation to understand. And author's journey in here is a response to and an acceptance of this invitation. And he's taking this journey. And Mi'raj means, if we go with the word itself again, it's climbing. So we are starting to climb, getting closer to the Creator, getting to know the Creator. But as the title of the text says, the observations of a traveler questioning the universe concerning his maker. Who made me? I have this question. Ibrahim alayhi salam asked that question because Quran is another example of an ascension, which is Ibrahim alayhi salam's ascension. He asks to the stars, to the moon, to the sun, saying, "That's you, my maker." And then he gets a response from them eventually, saying that, "No, you cannot be my maker." Then he finds his creator. So that's another example of an ascension, as Quran tells us. Another ascension example from Quran is Musa alayhi salam's journey with this young fatah to find this wise man. So many examples. Every prophet went through such a journey, and now we are invited to have such a journey too. And Prophet said, prayer is going to be your salat, meaning every day actually, when you do prayer, if I'm anxious, I should realize that I'm going through that journey. But let's expand this journey to our lives. That's what author is doing here. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that so especially like it tied back to the previous parts studied, the introduction, so that should we understand we take the text that we are studying today as described as the Miraj ascension to get closer to the creator. As we study universe, the text is about studying universe. As we study universe, then our doubts will be resolved, and our the insecurities, as we discussed in the introductory part, based on many misconceptions and so on, they will fade out, they will go away, and we will have a firm or firm, maybe iman. So that's the purpose.
So that is going to be the journey. Actually, if we can start hearing those voices, the existence. This is the, and I think I mentioned it last week, but since we have two Muhammads or two Muhannads today, so a little of repetition might be fine. As I was mentioning, with this documentary about Imam Nur's life, and in there they were mentioning that he's glorifying the Creator. As a child, I watched it, and in there they voiceover, like they were showing the tree in the nighttime. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So they made this voiceover. So I said, one day I will become an Anbiya, and I will start hearing those words. So I was expecting this is what it is, that you have a heart opening and whatnot. This is what the verse is saying. You don't understand their language, and this journey that we will take in here is to start understanding their journey. And if you go to an expert mechanic, the expert mechanic understands the language of this engine. You don't understand it. If you're not a mechanical engineer, you don't understand nothing. You take your car to the mechanic, he just runs the car, takes a tour around the truck, and says, "Oh, your is gone." By just hearing the voice of the car, the guy understands what the engine is lacking because he understands the language of the car. He hears it. So this is the goal. We will, inshallah, try to train our ear to be able to listen and understand the glorification of the trees or, I don't know, stuff and everything, the whole existence out there. This being said, inshallah, we will continue from 7th flash. It's going to be one page after what we read before. And I think I'll be looking for something who abandoned us for a month. Sister Aishanur, would you like to read it?
Thank you for reminding us for the reminder.
Where are we now?
7th flash. Oh, sorry, Ray. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Brother Beacon's microphone listening. So it should be with the atmosphere. So Got the introduction. Go with the straight sign. Turn one page. Be around page 131, 102-ish. Let's start with then that wondrous place.
Or
No, this is second degree.
the second.
Yeah, second degree. If you have pointers.
Paragraph, please, Todd?
That wondrous place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can make a few paragraphs and then pause as you see fit. Or I can pause you as well. Take it.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we are continuing the second degree of the supreme sign, which is the seventh, right? Then that wondrous place of gathering, known as space or the atmosphere, begins thunderously to proclaim to that traveler, come as a guest to the world. Look at me. You can discover and find through me the object of your search, the one who sent you here. The traveler looks at the sour but kind face of the atmosphere and listening to the awesome but joyous thunderclaps perceives the following. The clouds suspended between the sky and the earth water the garden of the world in the most wise and merciful fashion, furnish the inhabitants of the earth with water of life, modify the natural heat of life, and hasten to bestow aid wherever it is needed. In addition to fulfilling these and other duties, the vast clouds, capable of filling the heavens, sometimes hide themselves, with their parts retiring to rest so that not a trace can be seen, just like a well-disciplined army, showing, hiding itself in accordance with sudden orders. Then the very instant the command is given to pour down rain, the clouds gather in an hour or gather in a few minutes, fill the sky, and await further orders from their commander. Next, the traveler looks at the wind in the atmosphere and sees that the air is employed wisely and generously in such numerous tasks that it's as if each of the inanimate atoms of that unconscious air were hearing and noting the orders coming from that monarch of the universe. Without neglecting a single one of them, it performs them in ordered fashion and through the power of the monarch. Thereby, it gives breath to all beings and conveys to all living things heat, light, and electricity they need, and transmits sound as well as aiding in the pollination of plants. The traveler then looks at the rain and sees that within those delicate, glistening sweet drops, sent from a hidden treasury of mercy, there are so many compassionate gifts and functions contained, it is as if mercy itself were assuming shape and flowing forth from the dominical treasury in the form of drops. It is for this reason rain has been called mercy. Next, the traveler looks at the lightning and listens to thunder and sees that both of these two are employed in wondrous tasks. Then, taking his eye off these, he looks to his own intellect and says, the inanimate, lifeless cloud that resembles carded cotton has of course no knowledge of us. When it comes to our aid, it is not because it takes pity on us. It cannot appear and disappear without receiving orders. Rather, it acts in accordance with the orders of a most powerful and compassionate commander. First, it disappears without leaving a trace, but suddenly reappears in order to begin its work. By the command and power of the most active and exalted, a most magnificent and splendid monarch, it fills and empties the atmosphere. Scribing the sky with wisdom and erasing the pattern, it makes of the sky a tablet of effacement and affirmation, a depiction of the gathering and the resurrection. By the contriving of a most generous and bountiful, a most beneficent and solicitous sustainer, a ruler who regulates and disposes It mounts the wind, and taking with it treasuries of rain, each as heavy as a mountain, hastens to the aid of the needy. It is as if it were weeping over them in pity, with its tears causing the flowers to smile, tempering the heat of the sun, spraying gardens with water, and washing and cleansing the face of the earth. Should I pause here?
Yeah, let's pause for a second because it will call for another page. Yeah. So any comments so far? What he's saying is observation from the universe, and making those observations, he comes up with certain conclusions. So what do we think about those observations, conclusions? The discussion. He started with clouds, then talked about wind, then talked about rain, and thunder and lightning brief. He will talk more, but with what he has said so far, what do you think? We don't have Darato today, so somebody needs to take Darato's role as well. You very clever, asking great questions. I mean, asking genuine questions fearlessly, not trying to be religious. Like, if it doesn't make sense, he says it doesn't make sense. So that was about the article.
I don't think anyone can take a role, but I mean, here what we see as came a little bit late, but I think that's what you were introducing as well, is that the traveler is engaging in this very close observation, right, of the world around him, and here in particular the skies above him, so the winds, the clouds, the rain, and observing what they offer him, right, in one sense, or what qualities they are manifesting, but also recognizing that they themselves cannot be the owners of those qualities, right? That they are inanimate, and that there's this very clear command that they seem to be following. So I guess the question that comes to mind is that really the case, right? So it's how we go from examining the rain to concluding that, oh, like there is mercy here, there's compassion here, there's this quality of mercy and compassion here, because there's this initial observation of rain and then this conclusion of mercy. So how do we, let's say, fill in between? How do we go from that observation to seeing that there is a commander, right? That there is a monarch, as the text is constantly referring to. And maybe that can help us also hear those glorifications that you were mentioning, right? So how do we understand that language speaking?
To piggyback off what you said, I think sometimes I struggle, and that's the thing that like I struggle with, is to like, especially in Islamic circles where people are very in touch with their deen, it's very easy to see everywhere. And I want to see Allah everywhere like this. It's a little hard saying, because it's just a simple words, like we're thirsty, there's a cup that gives us water, therefore there must be a creator. It very immediately makes sense, but I also think that sometimes if you don't look deeply in it and you're very certain, if you don't have iman, any other explanation can like drive you away. And any simple explanation, I think sometimes tends to be, and I would love to feel more certainty in the right and only connection.
So, second explanation, for example, sure, shall I give wrong explanations? Since the judge is not here.
You are the one, right?
So, well, you have to get those water, hence you are alive. If water wouldn't be there, you wouldn't be alive right now. So, like inverse logic is what is happening, right? So, just water happened to be coming anyways, and this is why you are alive. Otherwise, you wouldn't, like, water is not coming intentionally. Some water ended up coming. This is how billions of years of whatever happened, life happened, emerge and evolve and whatnot. But here, because water is coming, if water stops coming, you don't come anymore. You don't exist anymore. That's it. As simple as that. Raj, Iman, Brother Bikan. No, go ahead. I'm done. Like I'm done with because Iman.
Maybe tying back to Sister Ashanu's question and also Nadia, right? Natalia's comment. So I think there's a very important thing that we should be focusing on the text, which is what language you use when you look at creation. What words, what concepts, and so on. So the author has the traveler looks at the clouds and then talks about some purposes, some goals that the clouds are fulfilling. And then about the purpose, he talks about the aim, he talks about the helping each other, and so on and so forth. He talks about the the fruits of things, the raindrops, and then we'll get, let's say, point. So this is a very different language than the way we study the universe. Maybe we should be first understand that. So if we use our usual example, like there's an artwork there. When I look at it, I can use many different languages to describe what is there. I can, for instance, talk about the number of black pigments and then white pigments. So when I describe it this way, I say, look, do you see these objects which have such, the colors and its sizes, these weights, that, and so on. I'm describing the object, all of them are true. But I describe the object this way, numbers, some stats, and then add on top of that, then there must be an artist. And this artist is so the talented. If I say that, just like religious circles, we take a description in the creation, which is nothing but usually the numbers, stats, and so on and so forth. And then on top of that, we just say, oh, the God is everywhere, everything is created by God, and so on. It doesn't make much sense. Like, I just gave you some numbers. What artist are you talking about? Right? Why do you need an artist to have that much black pigments than that much white pigments? You can just throw some paint randomly, quote unquote, and then you make that number of pigments. Right? So if this is the description, the numbers and stats, you can say, for instance, the intellectual, right? Oh, there must be a mechanism behind this object, right? Some random, but somehow selected, the actions. We end up with such a, the colorful object. You can, claim such a, the mechanism. And people would start studying that mechanism. And probably public part on that, right? Get some title, become professors, and so on. things will change. You use another language. Again, not a made language though. Another language to describe the same thing. Now I'm looking at the object. Now with my, you know, the glass is clean. I said, oh, wait a second. Look at the shapes. They're not just color, right? They're letters. Oh, they come, you know, they follow each other. Oh, it seems like a language, actually. And then I say, wait a second, you put these letters in different ways, but whoever put it, now I'm talking about somebody putting a letter there, right? Because with language and letters, there must be a right to about that. I say, the person put these bag in different ways, but she, somehow I know that it's she, but she preferred to put it in a various. Now I'm talking about some qualities that emerge there, making up. It is there. Now I'm looking at it honestly, right? And I say, oh, there's a style there. There's an order there. There's a artistic preference and whatever. And I see all of them. Now when I say, well, there must be an artist who makes it. And Natalia, yeah, that makes sense. It's not like somebody forcefully talking about God or artist in our example. What I see easily follows that there must be an artist there. Right? There must be a talented artist, trained artist, whatever. The same way, when we look at the clouds, when we look at the rain, so what happens? We are trained to see just numbers. People say, no, you should just compute some numbers there, nothing more. But I do see some purpose there. Why should I deny it? Or you should deny it, otherwise it won't be considered as science. Right? But I see that the rain comes and I become happy. Because now, I can drink water. Oh, no, you shouldn't talk about that, we say. When we start being just honest to ourselves, now let's talk about whatever we see there. Again, not making up, just tell me what you see there. Then, right or mercy, because when somebody brings me water, like she was a moment ago, her mother was jumping up and like somebody needs to bring water. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. But because she was so anxious, right? I just went there, drank water, and gave her. What do you see there? Somebody showing mercy. Can you explain it in another way? The mercy is there, like you have to use the word mercy. So it's not, there's no between what you observe and the conclusion of mercy, conclusion of wisdom. There's no gap now. If I show you something very elegant and clever, the wisdom would be the first word you would articulate, right? But we do see these, the clever things in front of us, and we say, oh, it's not about them, just compute the numbers and continue. And then somebody talks about the mercy or wisdom, we say, oh, there's a gap there. Where did you come to the conclusion of the mercy or wisdom? Of course, yeah. Because you look at the artwork, just gave me the number of black pigments. When you do that, there seems to be a gap. In reality, between the object and the artwork, there's no gap. Just the right language.
So I want to look at a different perspective. Like, for example, for people, their brain is, for first time they say see rain, they do not see mercy. They see it as a catastrophe. Like on that experience, like for example, in Pakistan there were floods back in 2005. They were like, so, and when you were explaining, you were saying like when you see rain, it is happy, and then even it is for this reason that rain has been called mercy. But when you're not even like looking at it through that, you're just looking at it as a catastrophe. Like to be challenging yourself to look at it like what is the meaning, what is the reason behind it, or would you just say it's just a catastrophe? Like you wouldn't even look at different scientific explanations at that point. You would just think about like how it is affecting your life. So that is my question. Like, how does it relate to that person? Like, the statement that rain is mercy and it is a sign of the creator.
Now, I had a similar question. So, like, the author is kind of like the way he's talking about like the rain and the wind. It's like, you know, like the rain, these sweet drops that are falling, and you know that's how he saw mercy. And then this wind, this breeze, it also can generate, like he says, heat and light and electricity, and even mentions pollinating plants. And also, he only mentions like the good aspects, and only through that he could see mercy. You know, which is the same when you talked about the painting. Like it's a nice painting. That's why okay, there's a talented or wise artist behind it. But like if you saw a bad crappy painting, then you would say this is not like a, you know, it's not good, this or whatever, I won't buy this, or it doesn't tell me that this artist knows what he's doing. So I feel like it's the same thing when, you know, these kind of like what we call natural disasters. So what, like, I'm just thinking, if the traveler, as you said, encountered a hurricane or encountered a tornado, would he reach the same conclusion as like this mercy? I mean, in this moments, yes, he would say, okay, whoever is sending this nice breeze or this rain to, you know, nourish me or something is wise and merciful. But now who's sending that? Like, is it the same sending both of them? And then why, you know, like, yeah.
Good question. And eventually he's going to talk about is it hail, like the ice drops, hail. He will also talk about hail eventually.
I was just going to say that, I mean, as long as you are sure about God being merciful, you could find mercy even in a hurricane, because you could be like, you would read it as like his grand test, but also like you don't have to read something as merciful to be able to connect it to God. Like you can, he has a lot of names, and you could read, you know, your experience, even if it's a bad experience, to another name of his. And the question reminded me of an ayah of the Quran. So it's in Surah Ar-Ra'd 13:12. He is the one who shows lightning, inspiring hope and fear, and produces heavy clouds. So I like this because, you know, like it just speaks about like, the multifacetedness of like experience, where lightning is both, you know, give you hope that it's going to be rain, but also, you know, like is fearful, and you know, sometimes it strikes down trees. So you can read something in like a way that's scary for you, but still be able to get to God.
Alhamdulillah. So I will not say much more than what Sister said. So catastrophe or seeing something bad and calling it bad is good. There's no problem with that. So maybe we should clarify something. The most dangerous and most terrible thing that you can do when you experience something, you call it bad or, you know, the good, it doesn't matter, is denying what you feel there, you experience there, and saying that, oh, there's no such thing as good and bad, good or bad. There's only this happiness. This is what you do in school, for instance. That they teach you what you experience. There's no such thing as bad and good. This happens and nothing happens. There is no such thing as natural disaster, for instance. It's just natural event, right? There is no distinction between an earthquake and you eating an apple. In both of them, something is destroyed, right? It's just numbers. This is the dangerous. What is teaching us here is not at least first and foremost. It will eventually come to that, but the way I understand, not the first thing is not looking at the creation and seeing all the beautiful things. Look at the creation, such the peaceful thing. Let's hug each other and become Muslims. No, this is not the idea. The idea is look at the creation and be honest to yourself what you see there. Not just talk about numbers. See a catastrophe there. See a catastrophe. Say that I don't like this, and I experience what in catastrophe? Can for instance, this child rain? I don't know, powerful. No, right? Why? She is what? Weak. When you see a tree is broken down, what do you see there? Did you experience power? Yourself. So why are you doing this? I know that he must be, or that must be powerful. Right? So that's the part is missing. And that's the part we're trying to at least, reestablish. When you see power, I see power. Is moving with this speed. Means, see power. And it is destroyed. Stop there. What happens next? What happens within a moment? Observe that as well. So with these hypothetical examples, the problem is always just looking at the isolated moment. You live in Pakistan, let's say, and there's a thunderstorm. You say that, like in Pakistan, there are these. I'm changing my sounds to make more clear. In Pakistan, you have these thunderstorms. It's just catastrophe. Do you mean there's no moment of your life, which is probably more frequent, where pain is not the source of destruction that you see, but the source of you being fed. Like in Pakistan, the lives of the people is just constant destruction by rain. That's all, right? So when somebody says rain brings food, or related to the food, I can assure you, in Pakistan, can say that because that's a sentence, right? So we cannot look at just one isolated moment. When you go through all these experiences, and when you are honest to yourself with all the qualities that you see, when you encounter something else, that the rain, the same rain, which brought me food, not bringing me destruction, you have to connect dots there. It's the same rain.
I guess, for example, since we go with Hadith, we have to attack him. So for the past year, Hadith injured his leg twice at success. And if you ask, he would say, well, always bad things happen to me. If you ask Hadith, he would say, look, you are saying God is so merciful. Well, what happened within the last 6 months? First, somebody crashed my leg in soccer. Then I was just barely recovering. I fell from scooter or bicycle in Washington, D.C. And furthermore, if you touch him, he will probably tell more. So many bad things happen to this guy. You don't know. That's why he's asking such questions. But, a good guy. But he's my man. So, but the point is, everything in the heaven and the earth and in between is glory. And Qadir's legs injury is 2 dots in between. And Qadir is focusing on these 2 dots and saying that verification is here. because he's like to get the hardest questions solved first. So is, as far as I understand, same between heavens and earth, so many things exist in there, starting from rain and this and that, and some beautiful messages in there. Yes, in between heavens and earth, figure of your leg is also there. But once you start getting the sense of those messages in between heavens and earth and how to glorify your maker, then you will start hearing and understanding, because the verse was saying how they glorify. The verse clearly said that. But Qadir, you don't know how it glorifies your creator, your leg. Let's
Got it. But first you'll have to unlock your device.
see. So once you start, and these are easy signs to read. So in this case, I guess it's going to be a more proper attitude to first let me see how these things are glorified, and then because majority of the time it is coming with merciful drops, and eventually the creator says, since Qadir, you're not understanding from language, let me call you with another language, with sometimes with a hurricane, sometimes with earthquake, to bring you to senses, because it happens that this happens to spoiled children, right? We keep feeding the child mercifully. Child starts developing this sense of entitlement. Like, these guys feed me anyways. Then what does the father do in this case? Either says, okay, no more, I'm not going to give you any at all, which is in this existence, it sounds like a drought. No rain is being sent. Or sometimes, if not in the States, but in our side of the world, gives a slap to your face like an earthquake, saying that you thought I had to give this to you just by slapping you, trying to bring you to your senses. But this is again being a glorification for the purpose of this existence, saying that you are here to get trained about this purposeful trainer creator. So, but I guess it's being a little bit about we not seeing the water droplet merciful, but then focusing on the thunder or the hurricane and saying that there is mercy in here. This is the reason that hurricane is sent. Wake you up from your entitlement, saying that you thought you were have to be given these merciful droplets. In this case, hurricane is also glorifying the creators. So this is how, and in general, and practically speaking, majority of the events happening in life, even in Qadir's life, like you have been provided with air, with life, everything, but your leg is injured. When your leg is injured, still your arms are functioning, everything else is functioning. So still, if we go with how much mercy you are being showered with versus how much of it is taken away from you, so that you have even the fact that it's been taken away glorifies the giver, so that this guy was not appreciating, let me take it away, so that maybe then he will work. So even the giver of this harsh treatment becomes a glorification of the creator. Make sense? Or
Can I give it another?
so he is talking in here is like he talks about rain, clouds come, clouds go quickly and whatnot. He used wisdom in here he's depicting. What do you think? Like the language that's being used in here is very simple. But Quran is also using very simple language. Like, does it have to be like cumulonimbus, like whatever is it, those clouds that are being given? To be able to get to know your creator, does there have to be extreme jargon or hard? And like what he's saying is very simple. Clouds are getting collected very rapidly and then they disappear very rapidly. Do you see anything interesting here at all? Also, it's in wisdom. Do you agree with that wisdom?
I feel like in simple things, it's easier, or it's when you see simple things, it's easier to see the connection to the creator. Personally, for me, I feel like it becomes even more impressive with complex things. That if I see myself,
Impressive.
yeah, or even more complex things. If I just think about how I'm breathing, exhaling, inhaling, it's interesting. But if I try to understand it more, given how we understood using science, it becomes even more impressive for me because it's not at just the macro level. The author is just talking about the atmosphere, but if you keep on going down and down and down, you'll see this happening at the atomic level too. And I feel like that for me, it attracts my attention more.
So once, when I first went to, what's it, Niagara Falls. So you take the boat and go near the horseshoe. So the feeling at that moment was just observing the scene. Like a sea is closing upon you. I felt like as if I'm in the movie, and then a hole is opened in the sea, and the horse is going to come around me, and I'm just going to get drowned in there. So the scene was telling me immense powers at play. No words need to be talked there. Really, you just stand there and you start feeling the power. And this feeling was so vivid and so strong that, like, rarely I get such moments in my life. Like, for example, when he said with the clouds, I am now imagining back in the day when I was following soccer as it is doing nowadays, they were mentioning certain European stadiums where in the summer heat they made a roof and it closes. No camp, is it no camp? Or which? Barnaville. So it closes and in the night time it opens up again. It's like a magnificent art of architecture. Clouds are closing and opening up, and I see it by itself. When I go to Barnaville and it closes and opens up, I put it in awe. So, and in that stadium with everybody chanting, and you get in the mood. How about the whole universe in creation that I live in? The clouds are coming, and otherwise we are going to be burning right now in this under the sun, right? It pulls up the clouds and says that where you are shaded by the heat wave. And then in 2 hours, 1 hour, he says to the clouds, first, but I don't see it as are in command of someone, as I am observing in Pebble and roof closing and open. Like these are the things I should question at least. Is what happening with an order, and I say that there's an order, like an architect, an engineer. How about this? And in those discussions, we mentioned a lot how water, like we have the water department represented here, and they transfer water by pipes under earth. We pay them, like City of Philadelphia, for bringing us clean water and taking away dirty water. Clean water is being taken to us by overnight air transfer. It's the most expensive way to go with takes overnight air transfer for whatever. This is the normal, if you like, default water transfer as it is established in the systems. How much do we pay FedEx for something overnight with air transport? This is how water has been transferred. Very interesting. It's heavy. Like when you transfer something with air, you would never transfer water with air. It's very heavy, right? So you would either send a letter or paper, nothing metal, it's heavy. Water is sent from air. Who's doing that? And it is being sent to needs. because water is there, but the immediate plants are with those interiors of the land. So water is being sent from high. Do I ask that question? Or, as I was saying to Natalie at the beginning, the way we tend to read it is, well, it happens. And the consequence of that life happened to be. Would you buy that explanation? Does it happen? Like, by default, it happens anyways. Is this an explanation to accept? Like, Barnabas' roof closes. If it weren't closing, we wouldn't be standing here playing soccer. Like, this being the explanation. You say, well, look, see how the roof of the stage closes? And your response is being that, of course, if it wouldn't close, we wouldn't play in here. Instead, we would go and play in Nokam, another stage. Like, this doesn't explain how, what closes this roof. I mean, very simple, but this language is throwing us off, as Brother Bikan is highlighting. Yes.
So based on what you're saying and some of the other questions that have been raised, it might be fair to say that it's never a matter of whether we see certain qualities or not, right? Whether a quality is mercy or power or wisdom or order, because we see those qualities. Like, it's not like I see rain and I have to see qualities. No, I see rain and I see sometimes the quality of power being manifested very clearly. Sometimes I see clouds and I see the quality of beauty being manifested very clearly. Right? So it comes together with it. But rather, it's a choice of, okay, I see those qualities. What do I attribute it to? Right? So it's like going back to the question I had raised as well of, is it like, okay, how do we go from rain to mercy? We start with mercy. We start with power. We start with wisdom. But it's, again, the question, this issue of, I see these qualities in my day-to-day life, right? Whether I see it in the clouds, whether I see it in the tree, whether I see it in a rock. But what interpretive choice do I make there in terms of, do I attribute it to the thing itself? Or do I say it is coming from something else? Then what is that? Right? So there's always that choice I make. Sometimes implicitly, sometimes explicitly. But it's a choice I have to make in terms of questioning, in terms of not taking for granted, rather, the very qualities that I am engaging with, experiencing, in dialogue with, in one respect, right? Like, we all look at a sunset and we say, oh, like, whip out the camera, I got to take a picture of this. So there's denial of what it invokes within us because of the very quality that I see in it. But then it becomes a matter of, okay, what do I do with this now? I see that, I observe it, I witness it. Can it belong to itself? Does it have the will, consciousness to own these very qualities, whether the thunder, clouds, or sunset? But it depends on if Natalia is convinced or not.
I mean, yes, like if we are talking about honest person and say that whenever you look at clouds, you will see a beauty. But this is true in one sense, but denial is there as well. We've been through this teaching of denial. So when you say, I mean, don't you see beauty there? The answer will be most of the time, what do you mean with just, you know, the vapor sitting there and, you know, shaped by wind. And to you, in that moment, you may resemble it to something else and call it beauty. But it's just you. There's no such thing as beauty. So this is the usual language today. So when we look at the creation, we don't see these qualities anymore. We experience them, yes, but seeing them requires honesty. So that's the part that we are missing as human beings. We human beings are not honest. We just say, no, there's no such thing as purpose. Entire, I don't know, the scientific narrative today is based on denying the purpose, goal, duty. And the outcome is denied. The input is denied. Only thing that we study, that try to convince everybody that this is the reality, is what happens. That's the only thing we are interested in. In today's physics, there's no force. Just things, moves based on the geometry and so on and so forth. It doesn't, attract each other anymore. The object does not, don't push each other anymore. There's no such language anymore. Because, when you start using that language, the question is obvious who's pushing. It's attractive. But instead, try to cover things as proof. I say, no, there's a geometric relationship there, and it has to be this way. There's no attraction, there's no repulsion. They have to move this way. It's just the action happening. Denial is there.
Inshallah, on Tuesday's discussion, like Quran study, as we are nowadays start Surah Al-Buruj, it was related to that, as it starts with وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ, the skies, which have those constellations. And constellation is nothing but like dots in the skies, but you see a pattern in there. But you see the pattern. Like the pattern is not drawn with those lines in them. You see the pattern. When you as we studied this Tuesday, you check yourself. There is a day you see in the example that for every action there's a reaction. You are being received a response in the existence. How about my choice? Am I not going to response? The observer, the witness, and then that is that which is witnessed. Directly related to that, inshallah, next Tuesday we'll continue from there. But let's put a pointer there just to whet your appetite. And then I'll just read one part and leave it back to Sister Ashura again to maybe we can continue from there. So after observing these, then taking his eyes off these, the author said, he looks to his own intellect and says, an inanimate, lifeless cloud that resembles cotton has of course no knowledge of us. When it comes to our aid, it is not because it takes pity on us. It cannot appear and disappear without receiving orders. Rather, it acts in accordance with the orders of a most powerful and compassionate commander. Do I observe this pattern? I should be questioning myself. I mean, now everybody knows it by memorization, but it's a very simple example of FedEx carrier bringing the iPhone. Like the air transfer FedEx carrier brings you rain. To the point, because you need water, because not only you, animals need water, like insects need water, plants need water. And I say, oh, it's the FedEx carrier that brings it to me. So I should thank the FedEx carrier, not the one who sends it. But FedEx carrier doesn't know you, doesn't care about you, doesn't even know your name. Somebody just gives an address and he delivers it to that address. So going and thanking or thanking the FedEx carrier is like, what would you call? Like you're in, right? But now we are thanking Mother Nature, or not even thanking and whatnot. We're just saying that what happens, clouds bring it. That is, as such, rather be thankful to feel lucky that we are living in an environment which receives rain. Like even when I was in primary school, our teacher used to say that we plant more trees because trees attract rain. I don't know if you heard such an argument. Trees attracting rain. Like what sort of a logic is that? Like trees are, there's a magnetic force. Are you imagining? Like what is being said here is let's put more needy here so that more help will come. The way of putting it, right? But it was being worded as let's put more trees so that they will attract more rain. And here in this land, we are going to start receiving rain. So it's just actually the glorification is already out there. They're insisting not to see it. Sister Ashur, shall we continue from where we were left? Microphone is.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me just start from here. That wandering traveler that tells his own intellect these hundreds of thousands of wise, merciful, and ingenious tasks and acts of generosity and mercy that arise from the veil and outer form of this inanimate, lifeless, unconscious, volatile, unstable, stormy, unsettled, and constant air, clearly established that this diligent wind, this tireless servant, never acts of itself, but rather in accordance with the orders of a most powerful, knowing, a most wise and generous commander. It is as if each particle were aware of every single task, like a soldier understanding and hearkening to every order of its commander, for it hears and obeys every dominical command that courses through the air. It aids all animals to breathe and to live, all plants to pollinate and grow, cultivates all the matter necessary for their survival. It directs and administers the clouds, makes possible the voyaging and sailing ships, and enables sounds to be conveyed, particularly by means of wireless telephone, telegraph, and radio, as well as numerous other universal functions. These atoms, each composed of two such simple materials, hydrogen and oxygen, each resembling the other, exist in hundreds of thousands of different fashions all over the globe. Conclude, therefore, that they are being employed and set to work in the utmost orderliness by a hand of wisdom. As the verse makes clear, Al-Baqarah, verse 164, and the disposition of the winds and the clouds held in disciplined order between the heavens and the earth. The one who through the disposition of the winds employs them in countless dominical functions, who through the ordering of the clouds uses them in infinite tasks of mercy, and who creates the air in this fashion, such a one can only be the possessor of necessary existence, one empowered over all things and knowledgeable of all things, the sustainer endowed with glory and generosity. This is the conclusion our traveler now draws. Then he looks at the rain and sees that within it are contained benefits as numerous as the raindrops, dominical manifestations as multiple as the particles of rain, and instances of wisdom as plentiful as its atoms. Those sweet, delicate, and blessed drops are moreover created in so beautiful and ordered a fashion that particularly the rain sent in the summertime is dispatched and caused to fall with such balance and regularity that not even stormy winds that cause large objects to collide can destroy its equilibrium and order. The drops do not collide with each other or merge in such a fashion as to become harmful masses of water. Water, composed of two simple elements like hydrogen and oxygen, is employed in hundreds of thousands of other wide, purposeful tasks and arts, particularly in inanimate beings, although it is itself inanimate and unconscious. Rain, which is then the very embodiment of divine mercy, can only be manufactured in the unseen treasury of mercy of one most compassionate and merciful. And on its descent expounds in physical form the verse, and he it is who sends down rain after men have despaired, and thus spreads out his mercy. Section 42, verse 28. Should I pause or continue? Okay. The traveler next listens to the thunder and watches the lightning. He understands that these two wondrous events in the atmosphere are like a material demonstration of the verse. The thunder glorifies and praise. The brilliance of his lightning almost robs them of their sight. And these are from Quran, section 13, verse 13, and section 24, verse 43. They also announce the coming of rain and thus give glad tidings to the needy. Yes, the sudden utterance of a miraculous sound by the atmosphere, the filling of the dark sky with the flash and fire of lightning, the setting alight of the clouds resemble mountains of cotton or pipes bursting with water and snow. These and similar phenomena are like a blow struck on the head of the negligent man whose gaze is directed down at the earth. They tell him, lift up your head at the miraculous deeds of the most active and powerful being who wishes to make himself known. In the same way that you are not left to your own devices, so too these phenomena and events have a master and a purpose. Each of them is caused to fulfill a particular task, and each is employed by a most wise disposer. The wondering traveler hears then the lofty manifest testimony to the truth that is composed of the disposition of the winds, the descent of the rains, and the administration of the events of the atmosphere, and says, I believe in God. That which was stated in the second degree of the first station expresses the observations of the traveler concerning the atmosphere. There is no God but God, the necessary being, to whose necessary existence and unity the atmosphere and all it contains testifies, through the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation, disposal, causing to descend, and regulation, a truth vast and perfect and to be observed.
Okay, what do you think of air? Walter was saying just air and the duties that's being handled by the air is glorifying the Creator in multiple ways. And air is the very thing that we interact with the most. Like you keep breathing air. I keep talking through air. I see light through air. So it's everywhere. We interact with it the most. What do we think about that? All these benefits that are put in there, so many, if you like, responsibilities are being done, fulfilled through air, and yet air is an unconscious. And I'd say it just happens. Like, for example, right now I am talking, and you're hearing me, and the communication is happening through this medium of air. And I say, well, it's just air molecules are colliding with each other. That's it. Well, something being transferred. Nothing surprising here. Anything surprising or magnificent is communication happening? Mundane, right? Nothing exciting. You just throw an envelope out of the window, right? California, like your brother's, no, you see?
Yeah.
California. Okay, so your brother's name, I write it behind an envelope and I throw it out of the window. And 2 days later, your brother says, oh, yeah, I get it. You just throw it and say, well, yeah, explanation is very easy, you know, in where envelopes hit each other, eventually it comes to you. Pigeons grab them. So the communication that's happening in here is, because it's like a lot of things, and the transfer of sound is just one of the many things that happens through air. Like pollination is another thing that happens through air. And there's an order within that. This is how we come with those formulas of how this ordinary thing are taking place. Yet, I don't, and I do see that particles themselves, either I will have to imagine those particles to be super smart, or I could say there is an order, an ordering one who is making this act now. Because when it comes to the United States Postal Service, how many people working there? How many engineers? Like how much of a technology for like classifying those packages and whatnot? So much technology is going on in there, and we say, well, government is taking care of that. And it right now, if the government cuts funding for U.S. Postal Service, system is there. Will it keep working by itself? No, you have to keep running the system. It doesn't run itself. It's not that, okay, we set the system and it runs by itself. If the government shutdowns, postal shut down. What do you do then? So I speak, and still the voice keeps coming to you since the beginning of today's discussion. Who keeps maintaining this? Who is taking care of funding this system of communication? But the same air who is working the communication is also getting into Atik funds and feeds the cells as well. Like its only job is not to deliver messages, like postal service is delivering messages, but it's also doing, like it's also doing DoorDash at the same time, like delivering food too. Once you inhale it, it goes out, there's food, it goes out, says, okay, well, by the way, I'm leaving. Would you like to deliver some messages to somebody else? And by doing this, as he's exiting, he also says, there's also some dirt here, let me take the dirt out. So many things are being done all at the same time, and it's so crucial for my life that it happens by itself. Would you buy that explanation? Like seeing this many orderly things happen, you say that, well, it happens by itself, there's no meaning, no purpose, no nothing in there. Good. Okay. Any other comments? Water department, Mr. Water department.
Why am I given air? Why are they helping me? I don't know. Who are they?
Who are what? Air? Oh, who's giving you air? Why do they support you? Yeah, brother was, they gave him free tickets to Turkey. He was calling me and saying, why are they doing this to me? What do they expect from me? What? Yeah. Why do they give air? What do they expect from me, right? Yeah, this is something that I should ask. But once I realize how much I am given, then I would ask that question. The one who gives me is expecting something from me. Can you fulfill the expectations? Well, otherwise he wouldn't keep giving. It looks like there is a way that you can please him. And he would expect to tell you to this as well. Like, be eager to ask him, well, I try to figure that by myself. Like, it happens, let's say I'm going to give a gift to Sultan, but I don't know Sultan Erzberg. What would you do? You will go and ask, like, Sultan's friends or somebody who knows Sultan. Or maybe you will try to grab it from in between the lines that Sultan says, oh, now this is what I want. So, but do you feel eagerness to ask? What do you expect him to tell you, right? Eventually, in this journey, actually, the traveler will ask the question, and he will go and sit in the madrasa of the prophets. He will go talk with angels. One of the stations that he's going to stop would be those stations of angels, prophets, saints, and what, inshallah. Any comments? Any questions? So I intimated intimidated Qadir enough that he's not even asking. Your fault. So, one thing that, as we are like, only have 5 minutes left, how author read those verses? Let's focus on these aspects as well, because author, after making these observations, he quoted certain verses. And this is how author understood those verses. Actually, this is very important. Quran interprets universe for you. Quran interprets universe for you. This is why when reading Quran, you should be looking at the universe and say, how does this explain to me? Like when I read the verse, the disposition of the winds and the clouds held in disciplined order between the heavens and the earth. When Quran mentions this verse, وَتَسْرِقِ الرِّيَاحِ وَالسَّحَابِ الْمُسَخَّرِ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The Creator is directing my attention to here, saying that don't you see clouds are being disciplined there. They are disciplined, and there must be someone who disciplines them and is inviting me to read them as such. So we should get this training for verses rather than reading it as just a poetic sentence or saying, oh yeah, Quran is talking about the clouds and we don't their cumulonimbus. No, it's not that we are trying to borrow scientific findings and just put them over Quranic verses and saying, oh, this is what it's talking about. And it's talking about something much, much, much more deeper than scientific jargon is telling me. I need to be paying attention. It says, don't you observe the order, the discipline within the clouds? What does this tell you? The other verses that he picked up on. And he it is who sends down after we have despaired and spread out his mercy.
Word he uses, that the phrase he uses right of this ayah that you read, this in physical form of words.
Yes.
Creation is the physical form.
Okay. Yeah. So this is why reading Quran, we need to develop this sense of reading Quran with universe. So I would like to quote a very beautiful phrase from Dr. Ali. So he was saying that we are not able to make sciences. Like we don't do Muslims, by we I mean Muslims do not make Islamic science, meaning like the Western world do science. And science is what? You do observe something and then you put your interpretation. The Western interpretation is it comes by itself, it happens by chance. Why does Muslim world not make science and read this same observation that there must be a maker who makes it? Because when it comes to interpretation part, we see that is what we have been discussing. The way that science world nowadays makes interpretation doesn't make any sense. But why can't we do interpretation? Dr. Ali's very beautiful observation was because we don't know how to read and with universe, hence we are not able to read universe with Quran either. We first need to develop the sense. As we read Quran, study Quran, let's read Quran with the help of universe. This is what we are doing here right now. We are reading the universe and reading the Quran and saying that, oh, Quran was attracting my attention to looking at the discipline of the clouds, looking at how rain is being sent, mercy when I despair. And the thunder is glorifying his praise. Is it? Well, I see the glorification of thunder. So do not study Quran detached. Do not read Quran detached from the universe. Because who is working with the thunder in the universe is one talking in the verse with وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا قَنَطَ وَيَنشُرُ رَحْمَتَهُ. So the one it is the same one who said this verse and who speaks through the thunder. Qadir. Next week. Jazakallah khair. So, when I am losing track of time. That's what I'm sorry about that. So inshallah, let's conclude. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.